Hey there, welcome back to the series on advanced Selenium Java-based interview scenarios. We are in our scenario number 2. Now, if you have not watched our previous session, then we talked about the scenario number 1, where we had to handle the infinite scrolling on a particular page, and we also handled the accept all cookies dialog box. Now, coming to this particular scenario here, we will be looking at how we can select a particular date from a date picker in any web application. So this is the interview scenario, and I'm going to exactly show you how you can create a script in Selenium and Java, which can do this efficiently. Also, I will explain you how you can elaborate the solution to your interviewers so that you get the best impression from your interviewers. So let's jump in and let's talk more about this particular scenario. So talking about this particular scenario, we are going to look at the booking.com website. And when you go to booking.com, you have to select a date from the date picker. Either it is for flights or for hotels. So this is where in an interview scenario, you might be asked to select a date from booking.com where the date is 3 months from today's date. So here, most candidates might panic if you're not prepared. So let's make sure that you don't. Now, here is the twist or the complexity which you will face when you try to automate this particular scenario. When you open booking.com and when you go into the date picker, you will see only 2 months are visible on the page, right? And the DOM changes with every click. So you have to handle all this in your automation script. Now, one way to solve this is to do hard coding clicks. But once you get into that, that's a one-way ticket to flaky and unstable tests. And it won't leave the best impression for you on that particular interview. Now, coming to my expert tips on how you should handle this in an interview. So don't directly jump straight into writing the code. So first, try to clarify with the interviewer regarding the constraints which you will face for the UI only selection, the dynamic DOM, and the 2-month view. So this will give the interviewer an impression that you are trying to think the solution and not just going in and writing the code, which will show that you have come prepared to write the code, right? But you have to also explain the logic behind the code. And then finally, you can outline the strategy, what you are going to write in your code before even touching the keyboard and start typing in the code. So these are my 2 expert tips before we jump into the actual script, which can solve this particular problem. So coming back to our ID in order to prepare this particular script, I have already created the class called DatePicker. And there is the basic structure, which will create us the Chrome driver, and then it will open the website, which is booking.com. Now, before we start typing on or creating this particular script, I also want to show you how it will actually look at and when you open booking.com, right? So this is the booking.com, and we are in the hotel or stays section. We can also do the flight section. It's pretty much similar. And here is the date picker, as you can see. So it shows you the calendar, and then it shows you 2 months. So you can select any particular date here. If you want to select any date which is in future, well, you have to then click this next button, and then you need to find out that particular date and select it, which is exactly what we want to do. So now going back to our class and method, well, let's start writing the logic for opening the date picker, right? Because that's the first step which we need to perform. So what we are going to do is we are simply going to use the explicit wait to wait till that element appears, and then we are going to click on it. So let's do that. So this is what we have to do. Well, we will define the WebDriver wait, and then we will define the element, which is the date container. and then we'll wait, and then we'll click on that particular element. We need to get the XPath, so let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to inspect here, and if you look here, then this is the date container. It contains both check-in and check-out date. So I'm going to use this to identify this particular date container, right? So we are going to use data test ID. So let's go ahead and do it here. Now, the next step is the most important step, where we'll be writing the logic to calculate our target dates. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so let's try and understand what we are trying to achieve here. So we are going to calculate the target date. So we are first starting to get the today's date, and that we can do using the local date class and the now method, which will give us the current date from our system time in the default time zone, obviously. Then we are using something called the year month class, and we are trying to get the today date in the year month format. So it doesn't include the day, it only includes the year and the month. And once we get that, we are also trying to add another 3 months to this particular date, right? So if it is August 2025, then you will add 3 months to this, and it will become November 2025, right? So it will only calculate the month and the year. Now, in order to get the day and add it to the date, so we are using a math function, and we're using the min method, which will give us the minimum date from these two dates. And what we are doing is we are calculating the length of the target month. So if the day of the month today is 29, but the length of the month is 28, then it will pick the minimum out of this, so that we don't get an invalid day, right? So it will pick up 28 instead of 29. Then we are getting the final date. Now here is the check-in date. So it will get the year, month, and then it will add the day here using this add day method. It combines the year, month with a day of the month to create a local date, right? So we'll pass on the target day here, and then it will create the complete date. What we are also doing, apart from not only getting the check-in date, but we are also getting a checkout date, right? So ideally, it could be a trip of 7 days. So what I'm doing is I'm doing check-in date, and I'm adding plus 7 days to that check-in date, so that I also get a checkout date. This is only for the completion of the scenario, not necessary you'll be asked this, but better you can also prepare for this, where you have to add 7 more days or any other days, so that you can get both check-in and checkout date when you are doing it for a particular stay in your hotel, right? So now, finally, we are also formatting this date, because in booking.com, it has got a specific date format, and we are trying to get that. So we are using the date time formatter, and then we are using this ISO local date, which will get us the required format, which is year, month, and day, right? So we are doing that for both check-in and checkout date. And then finally, we are going ahead and printing the check-in and checkout date. Now, the next step in this process is to actually select the day in the calendar, right? So we need to navigate, and we need to search for that particular day, and then we need to select it in the date picker. So let's write the logic for this. Now, in order to do this, we need three different elements. We need the check-in date cell, we need the checkout date cell, and then we need the next button. So we need to get the XPath for all these three. So if I go back here, and for the date cell, if I look at this, so here you can see it the date is contained inside the element called data date. Okay, so it is under TD and then span. And then inside this, we can use this property called data date. It contains the actual date. Okay, so we can use this to find any date which we have calculated. And then we will use this to basically find for our date instead of a fixed date. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so here what we have done is we have taken the property element property, but inside this we have put our own check-in date and the checkout date. Okay, so we have used the XPath expression to build an expression which will take in a dynamic check-in and checkout date instead of the static dates. Now let's go back and also get the next button. So here is the next button, and if I inspect this, so here if I see, so area label we can use, which is next month. So we'll come back here and okay, so this is the XPath for next button. Now, once we are done with this, we have to write again the logic to basically click on next button until we don't find that date which we are looking for. So we need to write a while loop for this. So let's go ahead and do this. Okay, let's try and understand what we have done here. So first, we have prepared all the elements which are required, which is the check-in date, the checkout date, and the next button. And then we are creating a counter variable, and we are putting it a maximum of 10. This is just to make sure that our loop doesn't go into an infinite loop, right? So it will go into a max of 10. And then we have got a while loop here. So here we can see that we have got, so here we can see that we are finding all the elements which match this check-in date cell, and we make sure that it's not empty and the count is greater than 0. If that is true, then we go into wait.until we find that next button, and we keep on clicking this until the check-in date cell is not found. Now inside this, we have also put thread.sleep. This is just to make sure that when we are clicking next, we wait for a certain amount of time because it will take some time to load the next month. And then we are incrementing the counter. And finally, once we are out of this while loop, we are going ahead and clicking on the check-in date and the checkout date. So that will select both the dates. So that's the complete logic of picking a date from the date picker. We have actually gone one step further, and we are also finding out the checkout date, which is like a 7 days gap between the check-in and checkout date, which is quite standard when you're booking a holiday. So now we can go ahead and execute the script, and we can see whether we are able to run this and get the expected output. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay, so our script has actually failed, and this is due to the unexpected cookies dialog box which came up here, or the banner, right? So now we need to handle this. It is pretty similar to what we have done in our previous scenario. So if I go back to ID, you will see this has failed, but this will require a little bit of change to our existing script. So let's go ahead and do this. Before we click on the date picker, we are going to handle this particular window. So here we have made some changes to our script. We are using the wait.until to wait for that particular element. If it appears, we have put it into try catch block so that if it doesn't appear, we don't end up with an exception. And then we'll get the ID in order to click on this, right? So we'll go back here, and I will get this ID here. Okay, so this is the ID, and it's a button, so it's pretty easy to find it. We'll go back here and then, so let's give it another try. Now, before we run this, I just noticed there were few syntax errors. So I had missed this at symbol here before writing the data test ID. And then here I had written date. So this might have failed. It's not a valid expression. So I changed it to data date. So those were the only changes I did. Now let's give it another try and hopefully this should go through. So as you can see, it was able to handle the cookies and then it went into the check-in checkout date. It clicked on it. It opened the date picker. Now it is trying to find the exact date. If it is not able to find in this window, it will click on next. And once it finds the check-in date, then it will calculate the checkout date and it will select both the dates. Now, we were not able to see it because we had quit the driver. But you can see here, it is printing out the dates here. So this is the date, which is after 3 months from today's date. And then the checkout date is a further 7 days after the check-in date. Now, if you want to exactly see what's going on, we can also comment out the driver.quit, and then I can exactly show you if it is selecting those dates on the booking.com website, right? So let's go ahead and do this. So here you can see the script execution is complete now. And here I can see that it has selected the 23 November till 30 November, right? So both the dates are selected here. So this is how you can select any particular date in this date picker. You can navigate between different dates. The only logic which you have to put is to calculate the target date which you want to select. And this same logic can be applied in any web application. If you're looking to automate the flights, that also you can do, it has got the same date picker, right? So that's how you can solve this particular scenario. If it comes across in one of your tech interviews, you can write down the whole script, or you can explain the logic, what you can do in order to solve this particular problem. So that's all for this particular scenario. We'll be coming up with a lot more scenarios in the upcoming sessions. So I would highly recommend you do subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Also, do let me know in the comment section if you like this particular scenario, or you have also faced this particular scenario in your interviews, and how did you do if you followed any other method to select dates, or if you know of any other scenario which you seem is complex or challenging, then do let me know. And it could be the topic for our next interview scenario. So thanks for watching, and we will come up with another interesting scenario in our next video.